Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
People who are medical doctors or biologists who take an interest in non-local consciousness and begin to experiment with it are typically going to be unaware of the vast history unique to parapsychology.
Yes,
that you've spent years studying, and I've spent years studying.
Yes, well, these interviews that you're doing, I think I put on my historian hat now, because I have another whole life as a historian, particularly of the early American Republic. I think these interviews that you are doing are going in the future to be absolutely critical, because you're quite right. What's happening to parapsychology, and I really, I feel not only very regretful, but I think that the historians and philosophers of science are going to particularly regret this, is that these little journals, you remember the Journal of the American Society of Psychical Research, for instance. You know, these journals no longer publish. Paper journals take up a lot of space. Libraries have little space. So they look at these 100-year-old journals and they think, do we really need to keep these? So they're being discarded. And a whole section of science is being lost, which I think is just really...
And even amongst the 300 or so practitioners of parapsychology today, many of them are not familiar with that literature.
Yes, not only that literature, but they're unfamiliar with the work that's being done in other disciplines. So, you know, I encourage people, both within the community and elsewhere, to really begin to look at what is happening and to preserve. I wrote The Secret Vaults of Time. When I got interested in using remote viewing in archaeology, I felt it was incumbent upon me to compile all of the prior research that had been done precisely for the reason you're describing, because I was afraid that it would all get lost. And in fact, for instance, the work that was done by Stephan A with Stanislaus Poniatowski, some of the very significant use of remote viewing in archaeology, which changed the understanding in the community in Poland. Poniatowski was the leading ethnographer of Poland at that time. That work was all done during the Nazi occupation, and I got it from the family of the Ossiewiecki family and had it translated. It was still in handwritten notes. He has now died. I have no idea what happened to the originals. I have photocopies, and then I hired a Polish translator to translate it all for me so that I could do a chapter on Ossiewiecki and Poniatowski. But you're absolutely right. I mean, as far as I know, that work may be lost now. If you look at the early Richer work or the Warcallier research, or Harold Sherman and his work with Wilkerson, the Arctic explorer.
And the book Thoughts Through Space.
Thoughts Through Space, yes. Where is that original documentation? I knew Harold Sherman quite well. He had some of it. I have no idea where it is now. And it's not only that people are unfamiliar with it in the community, which is unfortunate because then you keep reinventing the wheel, but from the position of history and philosophy of science, this is a big chapter that is in danger of getting lost. That's why these interviews that you're doing with people like me who are now becoming elders, this will become important in the future when people say, well, what were they doing about this?